Welcome back to the final podcast. This is your host, Staff Sergeant Gasoline from the Axemen.
And Staff Sergeant Volk.
And from the Scouts podcast, Staff Sergeant Small.
And Staff Sergeant Gutierrez.
And from the Gyms podcast, Staff Sergeant Bear.
And Staff Sergeant Hetherington. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our final podcast for this cycle of 23 TAC 1.
So today we're going to talk about three topics. First topic is going to be about how the podcast affected us, one favorite memory from the podcast, and a shout out to the staff member here at the academy. So I'll start off. So my first, how the podcast helped me is it's helped me like be myself a lot. I learned how to be myself and talk in front of people and have like the just talk in front of people and just be myself in front of be open. That's how it helped me out. And one of my favorite memories at the academy is probably when we went to that overnight STC down in North Fork, and I had a really good time there with Tech Sergeant Bradley and Tech Sergeant Taylor. We got to do some STC for the North Fork, and my favorite part was we got to swim on the rock and do. That was really cool, but it felt good. And just the vibes with Tech Sergeant Bradley, he gave us some life lessons and some life quotes. So that was really nice, and that's probably my favorite memory. And I also want to give a shout out to Tech Sergeant Bradley for always teaching me to not be a wimp and just follow my dreams and to be determined for whatever I want to achieve in life.
What the podcast has done for me is it's given me a lot of opportunities, given me a lot of courage and things I would have never been able to do before I came here. Gave me, like some of the opportunities, for instance, is I got to talk to General Garshak, and I don't think I would have ever done that anywhere else, and it did a lot for me. One of my favorite memories was the mud crawl. It was really cool to go through something like that with my flight because it was hard. Like none of us really wanted to do it. It seemed actually there were some of us.
It was unexpected too.
Yeah, it was really unexpected. I got mud in my eyes. That sucked. Yeah, that was. But that was one of the best times I think I've had like ever. And one of my shout outs I'd like to give out is also to Tech Sergeant Bradley. He shaped us into like the best people we could be by just teaching us not to be wimps, like Gasoline said, teaching us what it is to be a man.
Alright, so for me, the podcast has done for me, I think it kept me in line because it was like such a great incentive to have like every Sunday, and so like I was like any stupid idea I had, I was like, probably shouldn't do that, I'm gonna get in trouble. Right. So that it was just always like, don't do something stupid because you don't want that taken away. And like also like the relationships you built, like after every podcast, like behind the scenes, we talk to them and like they're like, oh my gosh, that was like so fun. And we're like, yeah, that was. We talk and joke about it. So that was pretty cool. And my favorite memory would probably be the Hell's Gate overnight STC we had. We were around the campfire. That was really fun. We kept saying that we saw things in the trees, and like, we thought we saw like a tree jumping up and down. We're like, look at the tree. And they're like, yeah, you're like, look at the tree. And I'm like, it was fun. It was awesome. That was a great STC. And then shout out would have to be Tech Sergeant Mitchell. He's really cool. He taught us a lot of like real life things that we would need to do. Like we went out looking for mushrooms. That was pretty cool. He showed us like survival videos and like a whole bunch of stuff. So it was really cool to have him.
So with me, what the podcast did for me, it actually opened my eyes to people's views. The people that we interviewed in some sort of way here, it opened my view. It opened my eyes to the point where I saw that there's more to the world than you actually think. There's also more to see in other people's lives than anything. And another thing, my favorite memory actually is there was this one time we went down to the ballpark and there's a creek down there. And we hopped in. It was Tech Sergeant Mitchell, Tech Sergeant Slosher. We lost his Tech Sergeant Slosher's rings in there, but it was just really, really fun because the water was really cold. Everybody was just having fun. We were playing football on the side, and then we got to run back up to the academy. But everybody was complaining because it was like, I got rocks on my shoes, and we had to stop a lot. But after that, it was really fun. That day was really fun because at the beginning it really everybody was stressed out. Like a lot of things were happening throughout the day, and then that just like made us rewind, and it actually just made us calm down and not be as mad as we were. And my shout out would actually have to be to Tech Sergeant Mitchell as well. The reason to that is because he's taught us that time is valuable and it's not something you should waste. It's something you should spend, but spend it wisely, not just do whatever you want to do. Do it because you're doing it for a reason, not just because you want to do it.
Like invest it.
Invest the time, yeah.
Yeah. He also taught us like we make our day, like we make how we're gonna.
Yeah.
The podcast has helped me get along with the gyms more, learn more about them, and build bonds with them. And my favorite memory at IDYCA is playing soccer on the tarmac, and because it was motivating. And Tessa, shout out to Tessa Stewart for always running with us because she helped me reach 34 miles, and it was very motivating.
So the podcast for me, I think it taught me a little bit about professionalism, and that I have no bearing when it comes to communicating and talking with my fellow gems. There were so many times when I just broke out in laughter, and I had a lot of fun with that, but I also, like when I would go back to the bay, I would kind of be like, okay, now I really need to lock it up. And so it kind of taught me when I can have fun and when I need to lock it up and be professional, especially since I want to go into a career field that involves the media. I think this podcast has also helped out with that a lot. One of my favorite memories is any time that we got to spend time with Tech Sergeant McKinney. She always made it fun, even if we were doing like a really sucky PT. She always had those funny comments, and she always just helped us have fun. And I really enjoyed that about her, especially spending 5.5 months with someone who encouraged an entire flight of people just to push themselves harder and harder every single day and strive for greatness. And a special shout out to Master Sergeant Roland. We didn't have him as a GEMS cadre, he's a Scouts cadre. It motivated me to push myself and to continue pushing myself outside of the academy. And that's an interaction that I'm very grateful for, especially since every single day I would see him and I'd just lock it up. And I just tried to push myself harder and harder because I knew that I could do it, but sometimes it's just a thought in the forefront that, no, you can't do that, but every single day I continued to push harder and harder, and it turns out that I could. All right, so thank you guys so much for joining us for our last podcast of the 23 TAC 1 cycle. Squadron! 23 TAC 1, out!